welcome back to more vlog with Christmas Dog, who's not now going to partake in the vlog. So yesterday had a very good session with leaders and their broadcast think tank, and met some very cool and interesting people and enjoyed their Christmas party afterwards. Maybe a little bit too much. But it was interesting, some of the points that were brought up regarding challenges in production at the moment, which is not my main field, but obviously am involved in it quite a lot at the moment. What I found really interesting is that, of course, no two sports are the same, especially in broadcast. You have, for example, a sport like football with gazillions of fans and huge budgets, but maybe only at the top end of the game. We heard from someone from the BBC who spoke about how even one camera matches can be given a kind of a boost by using well-known commentators or pundits and so forth to create a better experience, but they don't have budget to do much more than that. Then we heard from Sail GP, who have the most extraordinary setup with regards to how they do their production, remote production, 70 odd people off site, two giant fibre pipes going, one through LA and one through India, all routing stuff back to Ealing, and heli cameras and speedboat cameras and all sorts of incredible fun stuff. I don't know what their audience size is comparative to anything else, but their budgets obviously come and all their income rather comes in a different way, but all the way up to what to racing, where the production model is fairly consistent, and innovation is a bit harder just because of the constraints of the race course and the rights and one or two other things. But what was very interesting was when we started getting on to audience interaction, and this is something I'm really interested in, because we've seen from Twitch, Facebook Live and so on, that there are audience segments that love to interact, and in some cases, eSports wise, there are people actually more keen on the interaction and the discussion side of it maybe than watching the entire event. I mean, not in every case, but in some cases. But I think that the most passionate part of the think tank yesterday actually came in this section. One of the chaps from one of the new cycling events, sorry, can't remember, he really brought it up, is like, with comment interaction, on-screen data and so on and so forth, do people actually want it? Not do we need it, because in theory, no, we don't need any of it, but do the audience want it? And it seemed actually, as the debate was kicked around the room a bit, that not really, no. And this goes back to biometric data. It's not that interesting to me what Messi's heart rate is. I'm kind of loosely interested in how fast he runs in a straight line, but I know it's not that important, no. And I think maybe live it's not terribly interesting, but obviously snipped and used as comparative content or as just genuine information provision, it could be interesting. But we'll then start to debate really about what do people actually want. Football particularly. Kerry from Celtic and David from Rangers both said with their OTT platforms, people turn on 1 minute before the game and they pretty much turn off as soon as the match is finished, unless they win and they might hang around for a bit longer. But all of the pre-stuff, all of the information that we assume people want is not necessarily the case. So I found that super interesting. Also, Kerry from Celtic had some very good or interesting points talking of OTT on piracy, which I know from the leaders' conference at Twickenham a few weeks ago was on everyone's lips, especially the fella from Be Sport. So all interesting stuff. Party was good, and good to see some fellow racing colleagues there, Scott and others. So yeah, it was good. This is a bit longer than I normally do, but it's just interesting, the broadcast side of it and where it's going. And there's lots of debates. I read something even this morning from the guy that does the secret sports marketer persona, and it was about media value in relation to broadcast and therefore rights value and so on and so forth. It's going to be the main topic for us for a long time, and when it comes to moving partnerships on, it's important that we all understand the lay of the land for the various sports. But the key takeaway is that no two sports are the same, and what happens in nitro skateboarding and WWE is far removed from what happens in racing, and even further removed from what happens in rugby, cricket, or any other sport you care to mention. So really, I don't know whether they should all be bundled up under this sport banner and discussed, but it was super interesting. Thanks very much to Dan at Leaders for hosting, a very amusing and competent host. So yeah, it was all good.